Hi guys, welcome to Chicago Reacts. I'm Sonya the Thespian and I'm here with
Kit. How y'all doing?
and today we will be reacting to the story of Kony2012 by internet historian.
Ooh.
And before we begin this beautiful video, we would like if you guys can subscribe to our channel Chicago Reacts, because we have so many videos on there that we know you guys are willing to take a look at, you know, because we got some nice stuff on there. So if you can hit that ding button, you know, subscribe to the channel, we appreciate it. You know, so
yeah, but also there's a chance to boost another channel that we are working on too, and that is Chicago Reacts Movies and TV. And you can find that link in the description box below. So if you don't got it, get it. And if you don't get it, you better go figure it out. Okay?
All right. Let's get started on this.
All right,
piece.
Kony2012. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see what this is about.
Oh, boy.
Oh, God. The way it just came on. Oh, man.
Oh, I remember this. I remember this. Oh.
It's been a long time.
Kony2012 is the story of a man, Jason Russell, and his relentless quest to stop Ugandan warlord, Joseph Kony.
Oh my goodness.
Let's begin with the action stuff.
I'm already feeling the cringe because I remember how it started off as Kony2012. This is the early, not even early days. This was just like something that really started off good, but then spiraled into something so stupid.
Yeah, I remember.
On March 5th, 2012, a charity called Invisible Children published a high-production video called Kony2012. It was an awareness campaign seeking to mobilize action to capture or kill Ugandan warlord Joseph Kony.
And the goal of the story was to make Kony famous.
30 minutes long, it really tried to pull at your heartstrings.
At the end of my life, I want to say that the world we've left behind is one that Gavin can be proud of. A place that doesn't allow Joseph Konys and child soldiers.
I'm dreading.
And little Gavin would be proud because it took off like no video on YouTube ever had.
We wanted 500,000 views in the whole year of 2012. We got 500,000 views in the first 3 hours.
It received 100 million views in the first 6 days.
Yeah, this was a big video back in the day.
1.4 million likes. Click that link in the description below. They clicked it so hard the website went down, and their email was so inundated that the service provider assumed it was an attack and temporarily pulled the plug. The Times named it the most viral video ever. It raised the charity over $20 million.
Oh my god.
People really went fucking bananas for this video and those Ugandan kids. 4 million hashtags. People changed their Facebook profiles, so you knew it was a big deal. A fan-made mobile game. Are you woke about Joseph Kony? Yeah, but are you woke enough to get a tattoo? People were up for pretty much anything to stop Kony, as long as it didn't involve any practical action. 1 like equals 1 saved child.
And that's not how it works. Okay? This whole thing with
idiotic.
Here's the thing. I know right now because we're in a high point of the video, but it's just that steep decline. It's just, oh, here we go all over again. See, I didn't buy into the hype too much with Kony2012. I was just like, oh wow, this seems like something, but this seems so disorganized.
Exactly. It's like when these hypes when everybody obsesses about one thing too much, I kind of don't. Like, okay, guys.
And I remember getting in a conversation with a friend of mine in college, and I was like, well, this whole thing about Kony2012, but you do realize that there are other warlords, tyrants, and murderers, and dictators that are out there in the world. Not just Kony2012.
There's more out there.
There's other guys who, dare I say it, are worse than this horrible human being. So, but there we go. I digress.
This is Joseph Kony, and what's all the fuss? Well, he's the leader of the Lord's Resistance Army, LRA.
My God, you're greasy.
And he really is one of the most evil people living today. Imagine the worst crime you can think of committing, and he'll have done it thousands of times over.
Takes children, makes them kill their parents and eat their parents.
The surviving girls would be kept as sex slaves, and the boys conscripted into the LRA as child soldiers.
I know, it's kind of a bummer.
It's all part of a civil conflict that's been going on for 30 years.
My goodness.
We'll get into the details later, but for now, consider this our one-dimensional bad guy. And here's our protagonist, Jason Russell, the figurehead of Kony2012 and Invisible Children. He's a devout Christian, stereotypically Californian,
I do consider myself a refined valley dude.
but he has a bad boy side too. So it all starts in 2003 when, as a naive and aspiring filmmaker, he goes to Uganda with two friends in search of a story. While driving through a rural village,
A car was shot in front of us by a rebel army who was led by a guy named Joseph Kony.
they drive to a city for safety and find this. Turns out it's part of a nightly routine. Kids live in the villages, but commute to the city to sleep there to avoid being kidnapped in midnight raids by the LRA.
Thousands and thousands of kids, without an adult in sight.
Jason had found his story. And a cause. It must have made a real impression on him, because for the next 10 years he dedicated himself, almost exclusively, to trying to improve things in Uganda and stop Kony. Kony2012 was the culmination, but in the preceding years he tried a bunch of other schemes. This,
The Bracelet Campaign.
this,
Twice daily broadcast about where the LRA is and where they're active.
and this.
Do what we always do. Dance.
Oh God.
No. No.
This is all real.
No.
Is it?
Yeah.
No. Is it?
I'm sorry. You better start believing that you're living in the crazy world before 2020 and after 2020. This happened. This is a thing.
We're on a mission, put Uganda deep inside your mind.
No.
It needs attention and a dance to make it sparkle and shine.
Oh God.
No.
Break it up, we'll end the war without a gun.
Naturally,
No.
question
That's all I can say.
I remember Kitten. I question my defense for humanity every time.
have been raised about his sexual orientation.
These other rumors too that you were gay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard those rumors.
Yeah.
My parents started a large children's theater organization, so I am
Theatrical.
theatrical.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Straight men are allowed to enjoy musicals. It's current year. Back to
Well,
Kony
not
2012.
quite, buddy.
So the video lays out a plan called Cover the Night. Here's what you do. Pay $30 for your super special Kony action kit. Whoa. That's
Oh
nice.
my God, $30.
In the kit, you'll find 5 items. Button, bracelet, stickers,
Yeah.
shirt, and these posters. Then, on April 20th, in the dead of night, go out and vandalize your town with awareness.
And wake up to hundreds of thousands of posters demanding justice on every corner.
It was going to be amazing. Everyone was on board. The countdown to April 20th had begun, and all Jason and Co had to do was keep the momentum going and not fuck it up.
And they fucked it up.
A new way to move the world to action.
But this movie is not without critics.
Critics say the film manipulates the facts.
Simplifying the story.
Oversimplifying a wildly complex issue.
message is too late. Joseph Kony and his forces have been significantly reduced. Pro-war activism.
Utterly naive to
By
think
next week, this will be a passing
These
fad.
white Westerners sort of getting on a bandwagon, and actually they haven't got a clue what they're talking about.
A day or two later, the heady excitement gave way to more down-to-earth analysis. Media commentators started making scathing critiques of the video, and testimony from Uganda wasn't entirely positive either.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that we can have people who are merchandising, but using people's problems.
Then it got really serious. Teenage girls started weighing in.
Kony, so I asked my mom, and my mom laughs and goes, he died like 5 years ago.
This is wrong, by the way, but it was seen by 4 million people. From a source of "my mum said it, so it must be true."
Okay.
The term
Oh, wow.
slacktivism started cropping up more and more. Legitimate questions were asked. How will the money donated be spent?
That Invisible Children would send would have to go to the Ugandan military.
Why did you put your son in the film?
You know, why would you put your son in the film? You know, why did you put yourself in the film? Those questions about our sincerity.
Why are they saying Kony is in Uganda when he's actually in the Central African Republic.
Oh my goodness.
Invisible Children wasn't popular among other charities either. They were hogging the limelight. And they released Kony2012 just 2 days before International Women's Day, a critical fundraising time for some. Even the Ugandan Prime Minister took a few jabs.
We do not need a sleek video on YouTube for us to take notice.
Once people started feeling misled, they turned against the organization and squared the blame on one person.
Oh no.
The pressure was building.
No.
Online backlash and a hectic schedule was starting to take a toll.
My phone was getting 10 text messages every second. It was just...
Millions of supporters on one side, millions of critics on the other.
On and on and on.
Make Kony famous? Well, it made Jason famous too. And the pressure kept increasing.
No.
He was flying all over the country to spread his message.
Took the red eye to New York, landed at 5 in the morning.
Working around the clock.
On the Today Show, People Magazine, Reuters. By day 3,
the pressure.
I was in LA doing interview after interview after interview. 17 interviews in 48 hours. Wow. So
He was sleeping less and becoming more erratic.
not being able to sleep, not being able to stop my racing mind.
Criticism from every direction.
Then it was like, you're the worst. You're terrible. And Kony's dead.
They started saying the whole project was for his ego, or based on greed, and not just criticism, responsibility. How are you going to stop children from being murdered, Jason? You promised a solution, Jason. When are you going to deliver Kony?
At the end of that day, my mind was exhausted.
To release the pressure, he and his family tried to take a couple of days off by going to Palm Springs. But people recognized
Brace yourself, folks. It's gonna get crazy.
him there too. So they hid away in their hotel room with the curtains closed. Jason was starting to crack. Paranoia, delusions of grandeur. He went with his family to see the Lorax, and he thought the film was speaking to him directly. Voices in Jason's head told him that he needed to get to New York in the next 12 hours or Kony would win, whatever that meant. Then, he stripped off all of his clothes.
I remember this. I remember
this part.
Yes, yes.
I was on a street in San Diego.
Yes.
Totally naked and crazy out of my mind. Someone driving by in a car took a video.
I remember this. I used to watch TMZ a lot back in the day, and one day it's like, I feel like being I feel like turning off my brain for a few seconds and watching some celebrity gossip. I'm gonna go to TMZ. What do I see? I remember seeing that video. I was like, oh, well, this whole thing about Kony2012 is going down the crapper, and that did happen. Those are real videos.
What?
He just snapped the pressure.
I guess it did, but man, you snapped to the point you naked?
On their phone, and they sold it to TMZ for $30,000. And then my naked and crazy mess went viral as well.
Some have said that he was jacking it and that he was on drugs. Neither is true.
This isn't funny.
It's just a very distressed man having a mental episode.
Were you also masturbating? Did I hear that too?
No one who was there ever said that that was happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm naked, so it's not a far extension of, imagination.
He was taken to the hospital, not jail.
Police say when they showed up, they didn't see any of that and was taken to a local medical facility that he was not arrested though.
And there, he thought the staff were trying to kill him.
Just one of those things where I'm like, I don't believe what you're saying. You're trying to kill me.
He ran around in his underwear, kicking in doors until eventually he was subdued and sedated.
Did you come back to yourself as you know yourself?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? 2 weeks, whoa.
Yeah.
Later on, one Sharona Reed tried to sue Mr. Russell for the trauma of having to see him do naked calisthenics.
Okay.
As far as I can tell, though, that lawsuit went nowhere.
Can you think of anything else that's worse than running around naked going like this on TMZ?
Well, maybe one thing.
Well, okay.
While all of this was happening, the countdown to the day of action was still ticking. Thousands of kits had been sold. Get ready for an awareness campaign so effective you'll think you're living in Uganda. The kids rolled out into the street. Selfie sticks and posters ready.
I hear that marching in the background. Westwood Entertainment. Red Alert 2. Red Alert 1. I remember Westwood. I just heard the marching and I heard the sound, just the song. Oh, so many wonderful childhood memories.
Let's do it. Let's save those kids. We're changing the world. Oh, God, yes. But it wasn't all well intended. Some took it as a chance to vandalize their neighborhood with
Of course, like everybody just takes advantage of...
the adults were left to clean up
At
the
the
mess.
same time.
And despite the impression you might get from this fancy montage, the turnout was abysmal.
Do people not realize that you have to live the next day? So when you guys decide to do these things, you know, it has to be cleaned up the next day. It just...
Yeah.
Or like looting or whatever, anything. You realize that we have to be normal the next day with everything.
Yeah, I can't help it. There's a quote from a TV series, really old, from the 1980s. It was about the Cleopatra. It was about the Cleopatra family, the dynasty. Horribly done. But there was a line that I believe the father figure Potbelly was telling to his son, saying, "Well, look, it's all well and good. People like to riot, but guess what? That gets out of their system. They want to go back to normal." You gotta return. I'm misquoting it, but it's like he's basically saying, look, people want to riot, but eventually people calm down and want to go back to normal. Eventually things gotta go back to normal. It was fun to riot and burn things down, but all right, we gotta get back to normal now.
The next day. So.
Come on, we're trying to live in a society here, folks.
Here are some figures. Toronto, 50,000 people registered. Okay. Real attendance, 50. Sydney, 18,000 people registered.
Wow.
Real attendance, 12.
Wow.
Montreal, 4,800 registered. Real attendance, 0. Instead, they cancelled their event and put up a post calling Invisible Children a fraud organization. This is what 4 million Kony hashtags gets you. Now, I bet you want to know where Invisible Children, Jason Russell, and Kony are now. But before I tell you that, I want to go on 2 quick tangents of things I found while researching. In the Kony2012 video, you'll see this guy, Louis Marino Ocampo, Chief Prosecutor for the International Criminal Court. This would be the organization that charges Kony if he was ever caught. Well, in 2017, a bunch of Louis' emails were leaked, and they detailed one hell of a caper to catch Kony and bring him to justice. I'm not making any of the following up, right? Here's the plan. Lure Kony out of the jungle with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie as bait.
Straight from a Hollywood movie, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt attempting to arrest an African warlord.
So it would go, the A-list couple would fly to the edge of the jungle where Kony is hiding and call him up with an invitation to dinner. Kony, starstruck, would of course say yes. He'd show up, presumably bottle of wine in hand and ready to mingle. Then, imagine his shock. It was a trap all along. Special forces would pop out from behind the salad bar and get their guy.
One idea appears to have been for Angelina Jolie to lure him to a private dinner where he would be arrested.
It was a foolproof plan,
so
but
stupid.
unfortunately, it was never realized. Once Mr.
Okay, I'm just making sure because I'm like, I hope they really didn't do that.
Ocampo approached George Clooney for use of his spy satellite.
The chief prosecutor had also attempted to recruit George Clooney
I bet the celebrities
in a plot
like,
to fly
sir.
spy satellites over Libya.
Yes, that's correct. George Clooney partnered with a satellite company to spy on al-Bashir of Sudan. Okie doke. Anyway, he responded to the
Georgie, what are you doing?
George,
listen, hey, George, level with me. I mean, look, I loved you back in the days when you were on ER. Right? Yeah, wait, ER or was it Chicago Hospital?
It was ER.
It was ER, okay. See, I'm not going senile just yet. All right, there we go. Got it. Look, you gotta get back to your character roots from ER. Would your character be doing this? Spying on people? No, he'd be a doctor saving people.
He said, okay.
satellite wasn't powerful enough. So then Ocampo moved on to his backup date, Sean Penn.
He just going through all the celebrities. It's like,
what? And there were some people having fun with Kony2012 as well. Turns out Kony looks a lot like Carl Weathers in the movie Predator.
No!
So an idea was formed. Take this screenshot from Predator, post it on Facebook, and say how great he is without mentioning the name. Then wait for some Slacktivists to immediately assume it's Joseph Kony. Then you call them
It's just a test. Post a picture. See how
many people This man between the age of
wow.
Predator. Oh God.
Wow. Okay, so I guess the test worked, buddy. You finally proved how stupid people are.
Racist. It was good for a few minutes of fun. Then they tried it on the official meetup pages. Promptly deleted. We're back. So get a load of this total car crash, dumpster fire, shitstorm, diaper hurricane, am I right, guys? Well, no. Despite all the mishaps and poor turnout, Kony2012 was a massive success. The goal was to make an obscure warlord in rural Uganda a household name. And they succeeded. Reaching the hundreds of millions on a budget of about $1.5 million. Any marketing agency would kill for that. In fact, 7 years later, you probably clicked on this video because you have some vague notion of Kony and that video already. Now, let me give you a very brief rundown on where everyone is, then let's get out of here. Invisible Children, outside of long-term and small-scale projects, they've largely ceased operations.
Okay.
Joseph Kony, he's still out there, but his army is shrinking and splintering. He is effectively in hibernation. And Jason Russell. He's no longer with Invisible Children. He's also been breakdown free since 2012, but he's still doing the activism thing. Look, I've had to gloss over so many details in this video, and there are so many more questions to be answered, but I don't want this video to be an hour long or to take 2 months more to make, so I'm going to round this one off with a Q&A on the second channel. What about that $20 million they raised? Why didn't the US military or the Ugandan military ever just bomb the shit out of Kony? What did Kony have to say about the video? All of these questions, and a ton more, plus any questions you may have of your own. Uganda want to see it.
I see what you did there.
Oh, Kony2012. All right. Do you want to start this off, or should I?
Well, I knew of it. Now the details were with the Jason. I did not know about the TMZ thing. I didn't.
Oh yeah, that's
I think
that's
I
real.
heard about it, but I was like, oh, you know, like I said, when things are obsessed about, like, I don't pay too much attention to, because I'm like, man, everybody, all right, because it's in your face all the time on social media. But I did not know about the TMZ thing. I didn't know he had a mental breakdown and all that stuff. I didn't know that. But
I think here's the thing. All right, and everyone, because I haven't really, it's been a while since I did any kind of follow-up with Kony20. I just remembered this. So look, first, I think Jason's heart was kind of in the right spot, but they screwed it up royally without understanding the geopolitical situation in Uganda, as well as in the other countries that were bordering, because Kony wasn't in Uganda anymore. And I think it was very important that he should have done his research, right? I get what he was trying to do. But in his rush to do this, and with the initial success, because this was like, what, Kony2012, maybe I'm misremembering anything, but I can't think of a video that got 100 million likes or views, 100 million views in such a short amount of time. But especially like during like that was a pretty big deal in YouTube's history. And I think was everything that he had to do, and then with the criticism, everything else, he had a mental breakdown. The thing is, mental health is important. I hope he's doing well. I hope emotionally, mentally, physically, he's doing well, him and his family. But heart was in the right spot, but he did the wrong thing. And, you know, it puts a bad light onto activism, and also puts a bad light onto other groups that are trying to do good. Because then people remember, oh wait, your organization's going to be like Kony2012. Whatever happened to that money? Whatever happened to this? Don't make promises that you can't keep. And it's just this video was kind of disturbing to watch in a way, because you see the good intention, and then how it completely falls apart, and then how society rips it apart.
Exactly.
And it's kind of difficult to watch, because at the same time too, when you look what's happening or what was going on in Uganda, you know, at that time, you know, those kids were victims of war, and you know there was a war zone happening there, and Kony did some terrible things, and there are other dictators and tyrants and warlords like him too. It's just the way that organization handled it was irresponsible, and you know, a lot of people's trust was shaken, man. And I think anything, if you're going to do something like that, do research, do your due diligence. Just don't go in there for the views or to be in the spotlight, because whatever cause you're fighting for, that cause should overshine you, not the person leading it. The cause should be the number one thing that you're fighting for.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think this was a tough video to watch though. It was a tough video.
Yeah, because it was kind of a reminder about, because we know of it happening. It's just like, when that stuff comes back up, you're like, man, that did.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, and you kind of feel that pain too in a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm overthinking, but great video from the Internet Historian, and all right. Bye bye.
See you guys.